Hi, I'm Amy, and I wanted to start this earlier, um, about a video log about pregnancy and different things, because I see a lot on YouTube, as I'm sure all of you do. Um, but I'm 34. I'm not in my early 20s. I'm a working mom as it is, and I just find some things are great. Don't get me wrong, and there's a lot of YouTubers I like, but there are a few that just I don't find talk about maybe the complications and different things that can go on, because they're having healthy, regular pregnancies or they have the normal ones symptoms, like not that I don't have the normal symptoms, but nausea, breast tenderness, things like that. And nobody talks about like complications or not in depth. So I'm due March 1st, 2018. That was from an ultrasound. I think my due date is actually February 18th, based on like calculations from the apps and stuff like that. Because if you were trying to have a kid and you've planned it out a little bit, you kind of calculate it. So a little bit of background. I have a 9-year-old. I was 25 when I had him. I was 24 when I got pregnant, and that was, I got the cankles in the end, and I had the heartburn in the end. Never had any nausea or anything like that. I had a bit of a spotting at 32 weeks, and I had to spend the night in the hospital, but nothing ever came about that. It ended up being perfectly fine. We got the steroid shot to help develop his lungs, just in case, but he ended up coming out on his due date. So other than that, nothing. Flash forward to, I guess, now. So I'm an RN. So I work generally 12-hour shifts, although I just got written off like for the rest of this pregnancy. But I'll get into that. So my boyfriend that I've been with now for a couple of years, we weren't at first actively trying, but we weren't avoiding it. And he always said, if it happens, it happens. If not, I'm happy to have Martin Henry, who's my son, because there's lots of things he didn't go through with Martin Henry. So he's still learning about kids and experiencing different things with them, which is great. Totally happy. Martin Henry's asked for a sibling for years. And any of you know that if you're trying to have a kid, or even if you're not actively planning, but you're hoping it happens, that having questions like, when are you going to have a baby? Or when are you guys going to get married? And all those questions I know they're not said from a mean place, but they are hard to hear. Because sometimes you can't control it. And, if you want to have a baby, or if you're trying, or you're thinking about it, then there's nothing harder to hear than that question sometimes, because you can't control it. Nobody can. Even people that end up getting IVF and all those things, they still have a common goal, but they still don't know that that's going to work. Sorry, my bangs are driving me crazy. They need to be cut. Anyway, so long story short, we ended up getting pregnant in, when did I find out? March. The end of March, 2017. So the way it came about though was we hadn't been not actively trying but not avoiding it. And that had gone on for so long that I went to my doctor and we had a discussion, and Dave and I, that's my boyfriend, had discussions, and she said, we already know you can have a kid because I've had one. She's like, so we'll look at him first if it's not happening. So anyway, a year came and went and nothing happened. So we got the form to test his sperm, and as much as I know, and not that I know everything, as being an RN, you don't know all the tests. So we lived more than more than a half hour in traffic from the lab. And to do a sperm test, they need to get it into the jar You need to keep it warm, and it needs to be there within, I think it was a half hour or an hour, whatever. No, it had to be. And that's hard to do if you have to get a 9-year-old to school, and then, like for us, it's downtown. And so we just kind of kept putting it off and putting it off. Anyway, finally, I've been tired, and my periods are irregular. Like, we had gone to Disney, and when we got back from Disney one time, it like took 60 days to get one. So like they're totally irregular. And I hadn't been on the pill in years because it came a time in my life where I was single for a while, and I was older, and I had been on it since 14 because I had horrific periods, as I'm sure like some of the women out there know what that's like, and just to help regulate it and help with like the discomfort from cramps, because if you've ever had a horrific period, you can have some terrible cramping. And that was great, but I just didn't feel the need to be on it. So like that wasn't a hindrance. Anyway, so sorry if this is kind of all over the place. I'm new to this. But anyway, so my period being missed is not a thing. So anyway, but I had been tired and, you know, had the like sore breasts and all that stuff, and I had been at work, and something like funny happened where a patient had said like, the last person that walked by is pregnant, and we all kind of had a chuckle about it, and I was like, no way, because I'd taken lots of tests before, and they always turn out like negative. And when you only see that one line, when you want to see that too, there's nothing more frustrating. So anyway, I had the test at work, and I thought, why not? I'll prove them wrong. It wasn't wrong. It had 2 lines. So I was in shock. We were all happy. People at work found out because I was there when I found out. But it was the middle of the night, so I didn't tell Dave till the next day. We got these cute mugs made, given to my parents, his parents, like, had announced it. Okay, I gotta do something about this because it's driving me crazy. But anyway, all the things. Had told, like, my son about it. Like, we were all pumped. Anyway, so I was supposed to see my OBGYN I got referred to on a Tuesday. This was a Saturday, and I thought, I was 12 weeks that day. We'll go and get a picture of it, like kind of announce it to the Facebook world and other family members. So we went, and we were like, this was the ultrasound we were paying for. Anyway, so then get there, she puts the probe on. Martin Henry's really excited. You know, Dave's there watching. And I knew as soon as she put it up, there was no heartbeat. And she kept moving it around, trying to find something. And she's like, you know, how long are you supposed to be? Like, how far along are you supposed to be? And I was supposed to be 12 weeks that day. And she said it was only measuring 8 to 9. And she couldn't find a heartbeat. And, you know, she tried to be positive, like, oh, that doesn't mean anything. You know, you should go get checked, though. And I knew, because I'd seen enough ultrasounds done on pregnant ladies that, you know, like, there's this flicker. And any of you who had ultrasounds when you're pregnant, you know the flicker. And there was none. So we weren't far from my work, so I went right there. I talked to a doctor, and she basically said, you know, we'll get an ultrasound, we'll do some blood work. And I had already had 2 betas. So 2 betas I had prior to this, like, had gone up. So, like, at some point it was progressing. Anyway, sure enough, ultrasound, and she didn't show me the ultrasounds, like, getting it, so I knew that something was wrong, you know, that I was right. And Dave tried to be positive, but I couldn't be because I knew. And so I had no symptoms, I had no bleeding, I had no cramping. So basically, we got referred to what's called the early pregnancy complication clinic, which I think is a funny name. I know, what are you supposed to call it, but like an early pregnancy complication really wasn't a complication. It was more like a death. Anyway, we got referred to it, and there was different options you could pick from, and I didn't want to wait to not do anything because it felt like you're pregnant, but you're not pregnant, because like what's supposed to be growing inside you is no longer doing that. And so the longer it stays in there, and you feel pregnant, and you're hormonal, and you're moody, but you're not. And your pregnancy urine test would be positive. But so that wasn't an option for me. And then there's the vacuum, which I didn't want to do, a DNC, which I didn't want to do, just because it felt like you're skipping steps to try. So I picked the Misoprostol, Cytotec, basically, where you insert like the tablets, and then 24 hours later you insert in another one, and then it like kind of helps the uterus like to contract, so that like you can naturally like pass the tissue. So I picked that and planned it all out. My parents had come up, got in bed. Like Dave set up the TV. I ordered like Saving Grace. It's one of my favorite shows. Not in the air anymore, but I had like the DVD so that I could just continually like watch them. And I had cramping and some bleeding, and you're watching the tissue pass in the toilet, and you're thinking, this is horrific. Like, there's something wrong with this, because that's how, like, it's weird. And I had a fever, and I just was uncomfortable, but I knew I didn't pass enough tissue. So I called the number. She said to do it again. Anyway, we had to get these forms filled for my work. So after 24 hours after the second dose, I knew I didn't pass enough. So we had gone there, and they made it, an appointment for Monday. And that Monday I went, got examined. My uterus was still open. It was there was like, just I think from being open too long, like infection there. It was just a mess. So I ended up having a DNC, and you cry. You cry and you cry. And I've seen people miscarry, through work and stuff like that. And I've known people that have done it. And it's like a big group that if you're looking from the outside, you can't comprehend how that feels. You can only try to comprehend how that feels. And nobody wants to be in it. But once you're in it, it's terrible. It's a terrible feeling. So anybody that has had a miscarriage, like, I'm truly sorry. Like, there's, nothing worse than wanting something and having it so close, but yet so far away. So anyway, had that. Felt terrible, and one of my best friends was like just had a newly, like, a young child, like a couple of months, and they were all in like an exercise group. So I was like, I'm gonna get in shape, or better shape, and they all had young kids. And as much as and as happy as you are for people, like, you still have your own sadness. You're almost like, I don't want to say envious, because you are happy that they have a kid, but you're so longing to have that feeling yourself. So anyway, apparently I learned you can be quite fertile after a DNC. And so, after a DNC, you can't do anything physically for a little bit. So I had gone back to my family doctor. I had the DNC like May 2nd, I think, something beginning of May 2017. And went the end of May to see my family doctor. Everything looked great. She gave me the all clear. And we had slowly, like, we were just like, whatever happens, like, we'll have a fun summer. We'll take what happened. We'll have a fun summer. We'll focus on us and my son and just, like, have fun. So anyway, that was fine. June came, grading day came for my son. And I remember it was the night before grading day, and I was exhausted. Like, I was falling asleep on the couch watching TV with my dad and like Dave, and my mom and my son were asleep. And I thought, there's something wrong here. I had already had like ovulation tests and, pregnancy tests I bought off Amazon, like the big box. So anyway, did that, and it was positive. And I thought, no bleeping way. Are you kidding me right now? And I knew it couldn't have been from the last one, because I already had the negatives and all that was clear. So then I started drinking a bunch of water. And I thought, no way, this can't be. And my dad went to bed, and I went back out, like, waiting for the water to take effect, because I didn't have to pee again. And Dave's like, why are you being weird? And I'm like, I'm not being weird. Why are you being weird? I'm just, like, talking. Because I really, like, I had all these thoughts in my head, and I couldn't grasp. And I'm like, after all this time, after all that's happened, am I really pregnant again? like that fast. So long story short, I think I like used like 3 or 4 tests, and even then, like 2 days later, I went and bought a digital because I was still like, I just kept staring at it because I was like, are you kidding me? They were all positive. I told him, and like he was happy, and we hugged, and it was like, it was very surreal after like not long ago having such a big loss to surprise. So anyway, I'm due March 1st. Now let's bring that to this pregnancy. So that one I didn't have any cramping, no bleeding. It was a big surprise that I didn't have a heartbeat because nothing had been wrong. And I always thought like I never had a miscarriage like prior to my like having Martin Henry. So like I was really surprised that I had one on the other end because it never dawned on me that that would happen. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of grieving there. Spent like a lot of days having a face that looked like a punching bag. And I know you need to go through it. But anyway, we're here now. I made a Build-A-Bear doll and named it November because I was due November 11th. And that was sort of like my way of like acknowledging that like that baby existed. And, you know, nothing will ever like take that away. And we have to move forward just like you have other kids, you know, that you want to have. So anyway, this pregnancy. So then I went to a walk-in clinic. Like I had the betas drawn, like the blood test. At 9 weeks, I started bleeding and got everything checked out, and it seemed fine. And I kept bleeding, and then what is it? Then around between 9 and 15 weeks, I had like just horrific troubles, and then I think even just closer to 20. So I bled. I had pink spotting. I gushed fluid and pink fluid. I had a positive like nitrazine test, but like things can give you false positives for that, like bleeding. I woke up after work twice, soaking through my pants of brown. Now I know brown is supposed to be old, but like this was like a vast amount. Anyway, I always got checked out, like thoroughly. And sure enough, even though all these things were happening, and when they happen to you, especially after what had just happened, nobody wants that. You want everything to be like hunky-dory, and my doctor's like, well, even though that, like, everything's fine, in the back of your mind, you're still going to have that, which is totally true. But I literally had all the bad things that, you know, people, like I have the app Glow and Nurture and like what to expect. And people talk about it all the time. And I'm a nurse and I've seen it, but you really don't know because I've had pink spotting, I've gushed fluid, I've had bright red blood, I've had brown blood, I've had lots of it. And she always had a heartbeat. It's a she. And she was always fine. She was never anything but fine, like always fine. My mental status wasn't fine, but she always was. Anyway, no matter what you're going through, if you're trying to conceive, if you are pregnant and having complications, you literally just have to ride it out and, you know, try to be positive and take it as it comes. Because unfortunately, I mean, I know under 20 weeks, well, even some will say like under, was it 500 grams? Or whatever, like you can't save them. As much as you want that to happen and you want them to be okay, if anything is wrong, for the most part, you can't, you know, be saved at that point. They're just not at a juncture that they are viable. And I know that. Mentally, I know that. I've seen, you know, but when you want it, you don't want to hear anything but accept the good news, you know, because I know all those pregnant people too that, you know, go on YouTube or, you know, are friends of mine or family and like, oh, I'm not sick and oh, I feel great and I've been working out. I was put on bed rest. I've had sore boobs and like nausea and terrible, terrible calf cramping that like it literally contracts to the point where like your foot looks like the claw, which, excuse me, I've never had with my son, so it's all new. And as much as I know no two pregnancies are like, it boggles my mind that like, so our missed miscarriage, I had nothing, like I was sick, but I never cramped, I never spotted. And this one, like, I've had to go to work or go to my family doctor, and I've had more ultrasounds or more examinations than I care to actually think about. And she is just holding on for dear life, which I'm happy about, we're happy about. But it just goes to show you that, they're not all alike. And it happens to like lots of people, and you grieve and you can move on, and like good things can happen even when you're not expecting it, which I know people think. But anyway, that's my story about how I ended up here at like 30 weeks and a couple of days, I think it was, or yeah. And or in my case, I think I'm almost 32, because let's be realistic, when you were doing it and when you weren't. And I calculated on the app. So I think February 18th is my actual due date, because I never had a period in between the two, which they suggest, but hey, like, you can't control that stuff. So I think February 18th is my actual, like, when she's going to come. Anyway, so with all the discomforts I've had through this pregnancy, and as happy as we are that we're, like, nearing the finish line, not that I'm trying to rush, I just want to mention some things that, like, you need to do what makes you comfortable, because, you're not going to look like I'm all belly. Like for all the, like, big boob ladies out there, I feel you, because I was big to start with, and then they're just worse now. I can't stand it. And for, like, I know your men will all be like, oh, there's nothing wrong with bigger boobs, but I'm like, you don't have to carry them around. Anyway, so this is the belly. Excuse my pants. It's all right there. Now with my son, I not that I gained like a ton in my legs or anything, but like I had a huge, like I gained 80 pounds, and I've only gained like 2.2 pounds each month this pregnancy. So not bad. But anyway, you just have to do what's comfortable for you. Like, I tried at times to exercise, and it always ended up leading to bleeding. And so she's like, you can go for light walks, and, you can work. And then at one point I wasn't allowed to lift more than 10 pounds. Then I had to be put on 8-hour shifts. So you just have to do what's going to make you and your baby, like, healthy. And I've ate well. Like, I've loved fruit and yogurt and, like, soups. But I mean, for those people that can power through and lift a lot of weights and do all that stuff, more power to you, because I couldn't. And I wasn't allowed. But she's healthy, and she's doing well, and she's growing, so who am I to say, like, anything? If that's what works for you, more power to you. I wish I could have been one of those people. Like, I've done some, like, swimming and, like, walking, but I mean, I was, like, early on, I was, like, doing the elliptical and stuff like that, and apparently she didn't like that. So anyway, so I'm going to mention some products. Not that anybody, like, has asked me to or anything like that. Just getting this far and being this short of breath sometimes when you're doing things and bending over, I want to be comfortable. And there's a lot of more products. Like, I mean, my son's 9. There has been some changes since I had him. And, like, recommendations. I tried the all-natural deodorant. I'm sorry. If it works for you, good. But it was not working for me. So anyway. And then the face wash I was using, I couldn't use because it had, like, ceticylic acid, and that's not recommended. So anyway, I started using this, which I love the smell of, and it works really well. And I'm trying not to get, like, breakouts, because when I'm hormonal. Growing up, I always used to get breakouts. And then I've been using this. So those face products are like amazing. And I totally like love them, and they at least make me feel like my face clean and everything. Because it's just little things when you're like 30-some weeks pregnant. I meant to start this video earlier, but I couldn't. I just, all the bumps in the road I was having for this one, I'm just happy I'm starting it now. And then this, because we all know we all need it sometimes. And through this pregnancy, I definitely have. So with my son, I didn't get horrific stretch marks. And I drank a lot of water, and I still do that. But I wanted to try something different because, I mean, I'm like almost 10 years older. It is not the same body. It is not the same thing. So I bought this cream. It is like the best moisturizer that I like have ever had for your body. So, oh, and then the scrub that goes with the thing. So just using those things, like on days, like, so right now I just got written off. I had a terrible head cold. I just saw my OBGYN, and she basically was like, you know, you're worn down. You deal with sick people. My, like, calves were a mess. My fingers were getting swollen. Nothing was ever wrong with my pressure. There was nothing in my urine. And I had this terrible head cold. I had a fever. So she's like, this is probably viral, but you're at risk for like superimposed pneumonia, so you need to rest. So I've been like living in the apartment, basically taking it easy. This is literally the first time I've gotten like a shower. I had makeup on the other day, but like shaved my legs and everything as best I could for reaching down. But I'm congested right now and everything. Anyway, those are the things that just make me feel good, at least at this point. I'm not, you know, comfortable in a lot of other ways. I'm a belly sleeper. Can't lay on your back for too long. And so it's just the little things. Oh, and I love these. They're like Uggs. Sorry, they're well worn. That Dave got me for Christmas. And I bought these. They're from like Seattle or somewhere. They're not Uggs, but they're called Cloud 9s. They're so comfy. Like, they're a lot less expensive than Ugg slippers too. I got them at Marshall's. But anyway, that's my introduction to YouTube. If you have any questions, like, leave them down below. In my next video, I'll talk about like more symptoms, ultrasounds, and I'll get into like some baby stuff we have. Not that we have it all, and it's like Christmas in a few days, so I hope we will get it all within the next month. The 4 weeks, that's our goal. So like our dresser's on order, we have the crib set up, but then we were at the store and totally forgot the mattress. Anyway, I hope you have a good day. Click to subscribe, and I will see you in my next video. And it was nice chatting with you, and I hope to hear from a lot of you. Have a great day.